Hello students, this is Paulie from the Department of Political Science. I hope you are all keeping fine and safe at home. You know, due to this pandemic, COVID-19, we are not able to have the normal classes in the school. Therefore, we are trying our level best to reach out to you so that you keep learning, staying safe at home. But you know, to make it a success, we need your cooperation and most importantly, your utmost interest in learning. So, expecting that cooperation and interest from you all, let me begin. In class 12 political science, CBSE has prescribed 2 textbooks. The name of the first textbook is Contemporary World Politics. This book deals with some of the most important political events that took place in the world from the Second World War till today. The name of the second book is Politics in India Since Independence. This book also deals with some of the most important political developments that happened in India after independence till today. Both the books carry 40 marks each for the final theory examination and 20 marks for the internal assessment. That is 40 plus 40, 80 plus 20, 100 marks for the full political science paper. Today, we are going to learn a topic from the first chapter of the Contemporary World Politics. And the name of the chapter is the Cold War Era. The Cold War Era. Well, if you are all ready, let me begin. The Cold War Era. Era means period or time. So the Cold War Era means the Cold War period or during the Cold War. And the particular topic that we are going to discuss today from this chapter is the meaning of Cold War. The meaning of Cold War. So are you all ready to learn? Let me teach you what exactly the meaning of Cold War. Fine. When you hear the word Cold War, some of you may be thinking Cold War means maybe a war that is fought in a cold region, like on top of the Himalayas or on the Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir, where the soldiers will be shivering and fighting. Well, that is not the meaning of Cold War in political science. In order to understand what exactly the Cold War in political science, we have to go back to the Second World War. As you all know, the Second World War was fought between 2 power blocks. One group was called the Allied Powers, the Allied Forces, which consisted of the USA, the USSR, Britain and France. The other group was called the Axis Powers, which consisted of Hitler's Germany, Italy and Japan. And you have learned in history, the Second World War was a very destructive war which resulted in the defeat of the Axis powers. Germany was divided into 2 parts. Hitler was killed Germany was divided into West Germany and East Germany. West Germany was taken over by America. East Germany was taken over by USSR. But what happened after the Second World War? After the Second World War, the two countries, the USA and USSR, which were fighting together in the Allied force against Germany, became enemies. These two countries emerged as the superpowers in the world. They emerged as the most powerful countries in the world and were known as superpowers. And you know, there was continuous competition between these two superpowers. They were trying to establish that each one is better than the other. They were trying to attract more and more countries towards their side. There was great competition between them. And it so happened that after the competition, the world was divided into two blocks, the Western Bloc and Eastern Bloc. Bloc means groups. For example, in Livingston International, we have two blocks, the Senior Bloc and the Junior Bloc. So similarly, after the Second World War, the world was divided into two blocks. One was called the Western Bloc and the other was called the Eastern Bloc. The Western Bloc was led by USA and the Eastern Bloc was led by USSR. The Western Bloc was called Western Bloc because most of its members were from the Western Europe. So it was called Western Bloc. And similarly, the Eastern Bloc was called Eastern Bloc because most of its members were from the Eastern Europe. And you know, afterwards, for many years, there was continuous competition, tensions, and confrontations between these two blocks. Why competition? Because both the blocks wanted to prove that it is better than the other bloc. And why tensions? When one group becomes powerful, when they attack other countries, the other group get into tense. And what is confrontation? Confrontation is a situation where both the groups come face to face, and everyone in this world will feel that there will be a war, but there will not be any war. And in political science, this is actually the Cold War. Cold War refers to the continuous competition, tensions, and a series of confrontation between the Western Bloc led by the US and the Eastern Bloc led by the USSR. And why it is called Cold War? It was called Cold War because here there was no killing, no bloodshed, and nobody used any arms and ammunition. There was only competitions, tensions, and sometimes confrontations. But you know, in the hot war, there will be killing, bloodshed, and use of weapons, and so much of destructions. For example, the First World War, the Second World War, the Kargil War, all these are examples of hot war. But in Cold War, no killing, no bloodshed, no use of weapons. And that's why it is known as Cold War. I'm sure you have understood the meaning of Cold War. So before I wind up, I will recap what we have learned today. We are learning about the meaning of Cold War. After the Second World War, the world was divided between two blocks. The Western Bloc, led by the US, the Eastern Bloc, led by the USSR. And for many years, there was continuous competition, tensions, and confrontations between these two blocks. This competition, confrontations, and tensions between these two blocks is actually known as Cold War in political science. In the last video, we have discussed about the meaning of Cold War from the first chapter of contemporary world politics, the Cold War era. Today, we shall learn more details about the Cold War. And I have selected two topics for today. The first topic is military alliances formed during the Cold War. And the second topic is logic of deterrence. Logic of deterrence. Well, let us start with the first topic. The military alliances formed during the Cold War. Well, my dear students, military alliances refers to the agreements made between the countries in order to have military assistance when a country is attacked by another enemy. You know, during the Cold War, there was a great competition between the Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc. In order to make themselves more and more powerful, in order to strengthen themselves, they decided to make alliances with other countries. Alliances means what? Alliances means joining hands with other countries. When I say I am making alliance with you, that means I am agreeing with you to do something together. Now, military alliances means what? A country makes agreements with other country in order to have military help or assistance. Well, my dear boys and girls, during the Cold War, two very, very powerful military alliances were formed. The first military alliance was called North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In short form, it is known as NATO, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This military alliance was formed by the Western Bloc, led by the US. And you know, what was the purpose of these military alliances? After making this military alliance, they decided to work together, help each other. If any one of them is attacked by the opposite bloc, they will all come together with their military assistance and help each other. That's why it was called military alliance. So the first military alliance formed was North Atlantic Treaty Organization by the Western Bloc. In response to this military alliance of the Western Bloc, now the Eastern Bloc are getting tensed. They cannot just keep quiet. They also wanted to make another military alliances like the Western Bloc. So they also formed a military alliance known as Warsaw Pact. Warsaw Pact. This alliance was made by the Eastern Bloc led by the USSR. Now, why it is called Warsaw Pact? It was called Warsaw Pact because it was formed in Warsaw, the capital of Poland. Warsaw is the capital of Poland. And this agreement by the Eastern Bloc was signed in Warsaw. That's why it was called Warsaw Pact. So now we see, during the Cold War, two military alliances were formed. The first one is called North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. The second one was called Warsaw Pact by the Eastern Bloc, which was formed in Warsaw. Now you see, both the blocs are having the military alliances, the tensions increase, the competitions increase, and the confrontations also increase. And this is how the Cold War went on. We shall go to the second topic. The second topic for today is logic of deterrence. Logic of deterrence. It is a policy where two rival groups or two enemies feel that both the parties are equally powerful and they know each other. If a war takes place between them, both of them will be affected very, very seriously, and so none of them is ready to start the war. For example, during the Cold War, both the warring groups, the Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc, knew very well that both the blocs are equally powerful. And if anyone initiates or starts the war, then they are sure both the groups are going to be affected seriously. And so they decided not to start the war. This policy of not starting the war, because each group knows very well if a war takes place, both of them will be affected equally, is known as logic of deterrence. And this is the principle followed during the Cold War. And because of this logic of deterrence, only the Cold War never escalated into a hot war. Thank God, both of them knew this principle very well, and otherwise, who knows, we would have had a third world war. We did not have a third world war because of precisely this particular principle known as logic of deterrence. Well, my dear boys and girls, I'm going to wind up. Before winding up, let me recap what we have done today. We have learned two topics from the first chapter of Cold War era. And the first topic we learned is the military alliances. Two military alliances were formed during Cold War. The first one is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, by the Western Bloc. The second one is Warsaw Pact, formed by the Eastern Bloc. And the second topic we learned was logic of deterrence. It is a policy where the two rival groups feel that both are equally powerful, and so they do not initiate a war. I'm sure you have understood both the topics very well, and I will be coming up again with more and more videos where you'll be learning more and more about the Cold War. Till then, take care, stay home, stay safe. Thank you so much.